Have you ever heard of the expression or idea, all Asians are good at math? I'm pretty sure many of you have. It sounds like a compliment, doesn't it? I mean, I've been told I look good at math after saying I was Japanese, which I found very strange. However, it is true many Asian people are good at math. Like this one time, Team USA beat Team China in a math Olympiad. But on the whole, is this presumption really true? I mean, not really in my case. Let's not talk about the 2s and 3s I have gotten on math tests, and let's also hope I won't see them on my future report cards. But regardless, I used to think this was a form of compliment. But after doing some research on this, I found out that it is a form of racism, masquerading itself in broad daylight as a compliment. But why, you might ask? Isn't math an academically valuable, challenging subject? Wouldn't you be happy if someone says, "Oh yeah, you look good at math," even though you're not? Why does it hurt to say something positive? Well, the truth is, this is actually an example of a stereotype, or a positive one, some might say. A stereotype is an assumption or idea that people have based on someone's appearance or aspect of their identity. The truth about positive stereotypes is that at the end of the day, they're still built on the belief that we can understand an individual based on the group they're from. So essentially, we don't really see them as a unique individual with different characteristics, as we assume they're from a certain community with the same exact characteristics. Furthermore, positive stereotypes strongly influence and shape individuals. They have a huge impact on people. For example, Jennifer Lee at UC Irvine says that people who don't follow positive stereotypes feel like failures. An example of a positive stereotype on Asian people is, let's say they do really well on an assignment. However, people only assume they did well on that assignment because of their ethnicity, rather than the actual effort they put into that work. Also, a lot of medias portray Asian people to be smart, hardworking, good at math, science, technology, but lacking communication, social, and cultural knowledge. We are shy, humble, and non-confrontational as we speak English with an accent. We're seen as the no-play nerds, as we're seen studying instead. So this stereotype essentially seems positive at the start because it says that we're smart. But if you think about it or look from a different perspective, you start to realize that it is actually looking down on Asian people, saying that we're boring and antisocial. Positive stereotypes also strongly influences the idea of a model minority. According to the University of Texas, model minority is the cultural expectation placed on Asian Americans as a group that each individual will be smart, hardworking, self-reliant, and living the American dream. The Asian American dream is the mirroring of the traditional American dream in which it allowed many to escape the hardships of finance, politics, and society as a whole. Therefore, emphasizing the idea of model minority to Asian communities can increase pressure on what they're expected to do so. Asian students are also exposed to many of these high expectations from the stereotypes they're placed in. These stereotypes essentially urges them to overwork themselves, increasing stress levels in schools. Model minority has increased many cases of psychological issues, murder, and suicide. According to a study by Stephen Murphy Shigematsu from Stanford University, Asian youths had the most increase in juvenile crimes and substance abuse. Model minority has actually existed in America for quite some time, since the 1840s, when Asian people were first seen to migrate to the United States to look for new job opportunities. The more sinister side to this is that it has actually been used as a tool to oppress other minorities. Because when we see a positive element, we would automatically assume there's a negative element behind it. In this context, this would assume if there's a good minority, the others are seen as the bad ones. For instance, some claim that the discrimination and pressure placed on Asian American people was the strategy to denigrate and discriminate African American people. On the other hand, many people argue that this claim does not reflect the dehumanization African American people have faced, which has dated all the way back to slavery and still continues today with issues such as police brutality. So, who benefits? At the end of the day, no one benefits from a positive stereotype. It has been a tool to oppress us and fellow minorities. It inherently pits us against each other in a competition. I think many of us have made assumptions in the past, but whenever we do, we don't really consider the consequences it can have on an individual. Whether or not it is a joke we make to our friends or a conversation with a random stranger, it is very important to think about the things we say, especially if it has to do with that person's racial identity. Consider the negative effects it can have on that person, such as positive stereotypes and model minority. So, to my future self, I want you to know that there will always be these stereotypes surrounding the topics of race and culture. These stereotypes are very hard to eliminate, as many have been influenced and engraved into people's mindsets. But we can help by advocating and teaching to people, like now. We can help by sorting out these stereotypes that have been misclassified as harmless. Because at the end of the day, these are stereotypes. There is nothing called a good stereotype, and it should not be ignored. So, by making these adjustments, can we make a world without any of these stereotypes? That's for the future to tell us. Thank you.